Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 or episode 2 of Learning While Doing. That's what I decided to call it while I uploaded my first video yesterday. I said I was going to be opening a bank account yesterday. Didn't really happen. Got some bank account recommendations. Gonna probably go with US Bank. They are pretty good about finding loan money if you need it. That's what I've been told. So I have an appointment with them on Friday. We'll meet up, and it's always good to shake the hand of your banker, I figure, start building that relationship. So while that's moving ahead, I decided to post about the operating agreement. I said yesterday that I'd tell you a little bit about how that process has gone. So here we go. There are free resources to get an operating agreement started. There's no point in getting a lawyer to really write one from scratch. A lot of this stuff is pretty standard. I have to probably caveat this with I am not a lawyer, so this is not advice or legal advice. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm just a dude who doesn't know what he's doing. But I consulted with some lawyers, got some advice, looked around on the internet quite a bit, ended up getting a basic template operating agreement from rocketlawyer.com. They're a great website. They give you a free first week trial, which allows you to basically create this operating agreement. Then you can cancel the membership. And it's pretty boilerplate, right? It's pretty standard. But it gives you a good place to start. Another good place to get sort of a boilerplate or template is docracy.com. They allow people to upload documents that are just in the public space and share them and vote on them and do that sort of thing. So I chose a multi-member LLC operating agreement from there, the operating agreement from the Rocket Lawyer website, and we're sort of cherry picking the pieces that we like and maybe adding a little bit of our own verbiage here or there. And right before we sign it, we're actually going to get a lawyer to read through it and just make sure we didn't miss anything super obvious. I figure we're saving ourselves $500 by doing it this way, and we're becoming pretty intimately aware of what's in the operating agreement because we're talking through them point by point as a partnership. So yeah, there's really 4 things in the operating agreement that we heard time and time again from people talking us through this process to sort of focus on. One important thing is the buyout section. So say somebody wants to leave. How do you handle that, right? You should really explicitly lay out, this is how we're going to value the company. Either, hey, we're going to find an independent evaluation and just go with that, or we're going to take inventory multiplied by 36 times the last month's revenue and do it that way. There's a bunch of different ways that you could structure it. It's really up to you. So that's one important point, the buyout agreement. Another one is additional contributions. What if you each put in $10,000 to begin with, and that gives you 50% ownership? What if somebody comes and puts in another $10,000 later? Do they get more ownership, or are our additional contributions not party to get more ownership of the business? I think it's good to be very clear about this. Maybe it does give you more ownership of the business, but maybe the voting rights stay the same so that a person isn't really essentially bought out of the business if one of the partners was to chuck a bunch of money in and the other one couldn't match it. So that's an important part. Another one's what I call the ghosting clause, but basically laying out the duties of the members. And I like the idea of having a clause in there that if one of the founding members is not meeting their duties for a certain period of time, say 120 days, and of course all this needs to be documented, that essentially if they've just disappeared, then they forfeit their part of the business. There's no point in having a completely inactive person as a part of a business, whether it's profitable or not. Having a 50% owner of the business just disappear and not be a part, I like the idea of having a method of getting them out of the business and getting their shares put back into the business. And then the last one is settling disputes. My partner and I really like the idea of going to a mediator before the courts. So say we really fell out with each other, really had a disagreement. Everyone hopes this never happens to them, but you do hear horror stories. We are agreeing to go to a mediator first before the courts. Some people actually say you can only go to the mediator and you have to decide, you have to follow the decision of the mediator. I think that's called binding arbitration. So basically you can never sue each other in the courts. Maybe that's a good way. Up to you. Those are the 4 points that I found kind of the most sticky and most important to really hammer out. A lot of the other stuff is pretty straightforward, at least in the business world. 10 years ago, you would have had to get a lawyer to maybe 20 years ago, every single business got a lawyer to craft an operating agreement and to craft their documents and paid all this money. It's 2017, people. We have the internet, and these things get started every day. Businesses get started every day, and really, we're starting a product company. It isn't that complicated. You may want to have a lawyer double check it, make sure you're not leaving some gaping hole there for problems to arise. But spend some time on it, talk through all the points with your partner, sign it, and move on. That's what our plan is. That's how we're going to keep moving, and maybe you guys can do the same. All right, I'll see you again next post.